You can buy a bandsaw with good specs and still hate using it. Or you can pick the right one and suddenly curves, resawing, and joinery feel almost effortless. Today, I'm counting down the 7 best bandsaws for woodworking, what they're great at, where they struggle, and which one I personally put in my shop. If you've ever tried cutting smooth curves, making repeatable rip cuts, or resawing boards into thinner slices, you already know a bandsaw isn't just another saw, it's a problem solver. And the tricky part is that 2 bandsaws can look similar on a product page, but feel totally different once you tension a blade, set the guides, and actually push hardwood through the cut. 7. Skil BW9501-00. The Skil is one of those bandsaws that feels like it was designed to get beginners cutting quickly without overwhelming them. It runs a 2.8 amp induction motor and comes in a compact 9-inch benchtop format, which makes it a realistic choice if your shop is a corner of the garage or a small workspace where every tool has to earn its footprint. And for basic woodworking, rough curve cuts, small projects, quick trimming, it's genuinely capable. When I first set it up, the stability was better than I expected for the size, thanks to the steel base, and the table adjustments felt straightforward once I got used to the mechanism. One feature I kept coming back to was the rack and pinion style table adjustment, because it made dialing in angles feel less like guessing and more like an intentional setting. If you're doing simple bevel cuts for decorative work or small boxes, that convenience matters more than people think. In actual cutting, it did well on pine and poplar, and it handled basic curves without feeling like the blade was constantly fighting me. The 59.5-inch blade length is a common size, so it's not a nightmare finding replacements, and the dust port fits a standard 2.5-inch hose, which is great because benchtop saws get messy fast. When I had a vacuum hooked up, it stayed reasonably clean around the cut line. Now here's where I have to be a bit critical. The power is enough, but it's not forgiving. When I tried thicker hardwood and got impatient with feed rate, you could feel the saw bog down and the cut quality started to wander. 6. WEN94396. The WEN is a totally different kind of tool. This is a handheld portable bandsaw, and it's built more like a job site cutter than a traditional woodworking bandsaw. It has a 10-amp motor, a 5-inch cutting capacity, and variable speed from 60 to 420 feet per minute, which gives it a lot of flexibility across materials. For someone who does woodworking, but also cuts metal, conduit, or odd-shaped stock, that portability can be a real advantage. Using it feels more like operating a portable tool than running a stationary machine, and that changes what it's best at. I liked it for quick breakdown cuts, trimming awkward pieces that don't behave well on a table saw, and doing rough work where you don't want to set up a big station. It's also relatively light for what it is, about 14.5 pounds, so it's not instantly exhausting, but you do feel it after a while. The variable speed dial is a big deal because it lets you slow things down when the material demands it, and speed up when you're doing faster rough cuts. And it includes features you want on a portable bandsaw: ball-bearing blade guides, an external blade tensioning lever, and a 1014 TPI blade, which is clearly leaning toward metal cutting, but can still do certain wood tasks. But for woodworking specifically, this is where the drawbacks show up naturally. Because it's handheld, precision is on you: your stance, your grip, your line control. If you're imagining clean, repeatable curves like you'd get from a benchtop bandsaw table, this isn't that tool. It can cut wood, but it doesn't give you the same guided, controlled experience that makes a traditional bandsaw so valuable in a wood shop. 5. ONEMANA BW9111. The ONEMANA is another portable style saw, but it leans into cordless convenience. The big reason you'd want something like this is freedom. No cord drag, no hunting for outlets, no rearranging your work area just to make a couple cuts. And for certain woodworking situations, especially outside work, quick cuts, or small on-site adjustments, that convenience feels like a cheat code. In use, I treated it like a grab-and-go cutter for jobs where I'd normally reach for a jigsaw or a recip saw. The cut is smoother and more controlled than a recip saw, and it doesn't have the same tendency to beat up the workpiece. For rough dimensioning, trimming pieces to manageable size, or cutting down stock before moving to a stationary tool, it can be genuinely useful. One of the features I liked is that it's described as having multiple speed settings, 6 speeds adjustable, which matters because different materials and blade choices behave better at different speeds. You can slow down when you want more control and less heat, and speed up when you're just trying to move through material efficiently. That said, it's important to keep expectations aligned. Portable bandsaws, cordless or corded, are not a substitute for a true woodworking bandsaw if you're doing joinery, delicate curves, or resawing boards. This is more of a support tool that makes your workflow faster, not a precision machine that defines your workflow. If you're a woodworking hobbyist who occasionally works away from the shop, or you build things where portability matters, like decks, outdoor projects, or on-site installs, this one starts to make more sense. For strictly indoor shop furniture builds, I'd treat it as optional, not essential. 4. Anbull R2103. The Anbull is where portable bandsaws start feeling more like serious equipment. It's commonly listed with an 1100W motor and a removable base that can swivel up to 45 degrees, which means you can use it handheld or set it up for more controlled cuts. That base changes the game because it gives you a more stable cutting posture when you need it. When I used it for the kinds of tasks portable bandsaws excel at, cutting stock down, trimming metal brackets, and handling awkward shapes, it felt powerful and steady. The deep cut capacity is one of the headline features because it expands what you can actually feed into the saw without fighting it. And for certain shop situations, like cutting hardware or trimming non-wood materials, it's extremely convenient. The variable speed control is another plus because it lets you match the cut to what you're doing, instead of forcing one speed on everything. And the fact that this style of saw can make cuts without the sparks of an abrasive tool is a practical benefit if you're working near finishes, sawdust, or anything you don't want to ignite. In woodworking terms, I still see it as a secondary tool, but it's a strong secondary tool. I used it to break down rough material before moving to cleaner cuts on stationary tools, and it's the kind of thing that saves time when your workflow involves multiple materials. It's also a nice option if your shop is small and you prefer tools that can live on a shelf until needed. 3. Woodskil Band Saw. The Woodskil is the first saw on this list that really pushes into woodworking first territory while still staying compact. It's built around a 3A low-noise induction motor, and it's listed with 2500 FPM blade speed and a 1720 RPM motor speed, which gives it that steady, consistent feel people like from induction setups. For a small shop bandsaw, that smoothness matters. What stood out to me in practical use was how much the saw seemed to prioritize stability and reduced vibration compared to a lot of bargain benchtop options. It's described as anti-shake, and while marketing terms can be fluffy, I did notice it felt more planted in the cut, especially when doing gentle curves. That less dancing on the bench effect is what helps a smaller saw feel more accurate than it has any right to be. The table setup is also woodworking friendly. It has a cast aluminum table that tilts 0 to 45 degrees and includes a miter gauge and fence, which gives you the tools to do straight cuts and repeatable angles without improvising jigs immediately. And the blade compatibility is practical, 59.5-inch length with widths ranging from 1/8 to 3/8, so you can actually tune the saw for either tighter curves or more controlled straight cuts. In terms of use cases, this is the kind of saw I'd use for small furniture parts, template work, cutting curves for stools or arches, and basic resawing within its capacity. It's also described with a max cutting depth around 3.5 inches and throat around 9 inches, which lines up with the typical small bandsaw limits, but still covers most hobbyist tasks. 2. MAXXT R2103-1 plus P1103-NA. The MAXXT is another portable bandsaw setup, but it adds a more production-style angle. It's commonly described with a base and features like adjustable cutting angles from 0 to 45 degrees, plus a wide cutting capacity that makes it feel closer to a compact chop saw alternative, except with a bandsaw blade. That matters because it expands from handheld cuts into repeatable station-like cuts. What I liked most is that it's set up for speed control and material flexibility. The blade speed is described as variable, roughly in the 60 to 420 feet per minute range, and that makes it easier to get cleaner results on different materials. Even though we're focused on woodworking today, a lot of real workshops cut wood, aluminum, steel brackets, and PVC in the same week, so versatility is a real feature, not a gimmick. In use, this style of saw shines when you want controlled straight cuts without hauling long stock onto a big stationary machine. The base helps keep cuts square, and the angle adjustment gives you options for miters. If you're building workbenches, shop carts, jigs, or any project where you're mixing wood with hardware and metal supports, it becomes extremely convenient. It's also described as having an LED light and an auto-stop function after cutting is finished, and those are the small quality-of-life details that make a tool feel more considered in design. When a portable tool starts behaving like a small station tool, it saves time and reduces mistakes, especially when you're doing repetitive work. It lands at number 2 because it's not the ultimate woodworking bandsaw in the classic sense, but it's one of the most practical, do a lot of things well tools here. 1. Jet JWBS14SFX-BLK. The Jet is the real deal shop bandsaw in this lineup, the kind of machine you buy when you're ready to stop working around limitations. It's a 14-inch steel frame bandsaw with a 1.75 HP motor, and it's built to handle serious woodworking tasks like resawing wide boards and cutting thick stock with confidence. When you step up to this class, your projects expand because the tool stops being the bottleneck. One of the standout specs is the resaw capacity, over 13 inches, and that's not just a number. That's the difference between I can slice my own veneers and bookmatch panels versus I guess I'll buy thinner wood. It also runs around 3000 SFPM blade speed, which is in the range you'd expect from a strong, dedicated woodworking bandsaw designed to cut efficiently. The build quality is where it feels like a top pick. You get a large work surface, cast iron table listed at 21 by 17 inches, so the saw supports bigger work pieces without feeling tippy or awkward. And with features like a machined aluminum fence system and an adjustable blade guide system, it's designed to make precision less of a struggle and more of a normal outcome. Dust collection is another big reason it feels shop-ready. It's listed with dual 4-inch dust ports, which is a serious setup compared to small saws that rely on tiny ports or good luck in a shop vac. When you're resawing, dust management stops being optional, and a machine like this is built with that reality in mind. If you're the kind of woodworker who wants one bandsaw that can handle curves, straight ripping, joinery cuts, and heavy resawing without feeling like you're pushing the machine to its limits every weekend, the Jet is the clear number 1.